we are when we do something like that.
What's up, fight fans? This is the Combat Connection. I'm your host, Brett Cagle, joined today by Patrick Dana. And we've got a lot to talk about on this show today. Kevin Vallejos just stopped Josh Emmett in the first round last weekend. Pat, what do you think? We both had Kevin winning the fight. I had it going to the distance. I thought Emmett would be tough enough to survive. He's shown that gameness in the past, going the distance with Ilia Topuria. Were you surprised that Vallejos took care of him so easily?
Yeah, so right before the fight, right, I was talking to my friend about his prediction. He's like, yeah, I think Vallejos is going to finish him, maybe like round 3, something like that. And then I was like, I still think, like, it's tough. Like, we haven't seen Emmett lose, like, durability in that sense. I didn't think Vallejos would sub him. So, like, I was like, I could see him knocking him out around then, but I think I leaned decision, I think the Kevin Vallejos decision was my pick, I was like, how crazy would it be, though, if he just starched Emmett in, like, 3 minutes? And, like, as the 3-minute mark hit, that fight was, like, over. And I was like, oh, my gosh, man. Like, I was just really impressed because we've never seen anyone really do Josh Emmett like that, Like, Ilia did him really bad. He beat him up really bad. But the fact that Vallejos did what he did, got him out of there within just over half a round, like, really impressive. I know Emmett's like 41. It's not as, he was like, Vallejos was almost always going to win that fight. It's just the way he did it just so easily. It was just very impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, and like when you talk about Rowan Murphy and Ilia Topuria fighting Josh Emmett and not being able to get him out of there, and then you got a guy like Vallejos, so young, I think the sky's the limit with his potential moving forward at the weight class. But for Emmett, do you think this kind of signifies the end of contendership in his career, and he might be on the back 3 holes of his course in his career?
I mean, I think even taking this fight was controversial. I don't even know if this fight needed to happen. I think he probably could have called it after his last loss against Yusuf Zalal, if I'm not mistaken. So that's like where I'm at with him. I kind of think that his career is sadly over at this point. And if he does want to go out on a win, he has to ask the UFC to give him someone older like him, that
it was always surprising to me when he took that time off after the Bryce Mitchell knockout. Like, he had the biggest win of his career, knockout of the year, and then he takes time off and comes back near 40 years old. That was really kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people were kind of pissed off about the time he took off there because he had so much hype at that point, more than he might have ever had. So, yeah, that was a rough one.
But for Kevin Vallejos, this was an impressive victory for him. Pat, is there somebody specifically you might want to see him matched up with next?
It's tough because he's still so young. There's no reason to like over push him, but I mean, he's beaten 2 top 15 caliber guys at this point. Has that fight with John Silva from the Contender Series. He was 21 years old, beat John Silva in round 1, then lost in rounds 2 and 3. But he's a beast, like, he's ready for this competition of the top 15, probably top 10 too. And it's tough to say he isn't at this point. He's kind of shown it completely. So I really don't mind any of the top 10 matchups at this point. Just something to push him higher up, but maybe not too high up, I guess, just maybe someone a couple spots above him. Maybe give him, I don't know, Arnold Allen next. Like, Allen's booked against Costa, obviously, but like maybe after that fight, or maybe even just give him the winner of that fight, like something like that,
Yeah, a lot. Like you mentioned, Melky Costa in there as well. A lot of new, fresh face prospects coming up this division right now, and a lot of older fighters like Emmett that are kind of exiting out the division as well. So that's something to look at. And then Jillian Robertson was able to defeat Amanda Lemos, improving her impressive win streak. Obviously, Lemos is a veteran of the sport, as tough as they come. Jillian Robertson, some people didn't think she was going to be able to get it done this weekend against the Brazilian, who has wins over Mackenzie Dern and other top-level fighters in the sport. Pat, what did you think of Jillian Robertson and her title push now at this point in her career?
Yeah, no, it was kind of the opposite for me. I was actually expecting Robertson to get Lemos out of there. I thought she was going to take her out. I thought she was going to submit her just because Lemos has just shown a weakness on the ground for most of her UFC career, at least in the ability of submission defense and takedown defense and stuff. It's been a weakness for sure. And Robertson not finishing her and also losing round 1, not on the feet, but because she got kind of reversed on the wrestling and controlled on top, it wasn't a great look. Like, that wasn't a that wasn't a let's get her a title shot next kind of performance, but it was a good win. Like, no doubt Amanda Lemos is a great win no matter how you chalk it up. It just
Yeah.
wasn't a as inspiring of a win as I thought it might be. So I don't think she should get a title fight next. I think she needs another one. Maybe that kind of fight against Verna Jandiroba, another grappler who's really solid on the ground. Uh,
Mhm.
I think I could see something like that happening next, but I don't think a title fight is next for her after a performance like that. I think it was a little too close.
Yeah, she did have a TKO finish the fight before this one, but like you're saying, you kind of have to have a statement win to solidify yourself, in that weight class to get in the title opportunity. But Pat, let's talk about Delgado and Feely. How'd you have that fight scored? Kind of controversial. I had it for Delgado, who ended up winning the fight by split decision. But were you surprised that one judge gave it to Andre Feely?
I don't know. I had it for Delgado as well, but it felt like one of those fights, even before the fight happened, that was going to be like a grimy split decision, in my
Mhm.
opinion. Like I really liked that fight to end by split decision in general. Like if there was a bet you could place on that, I know there's some books that offer that. I thought that was like a great bet. This fight to end by split because I feel like Feely's style was going to be tough for Delgado. He's not a guy that gets knocked out very easily at all. And if Delgado didn't get him out of there, it was going to be tougher. But really, I mean, Feely just had that one knockdown in round one, stole him round one. But other than that, Delgado was a step ahead for the most part in the striking, just a bit more power, just slightly more active. I was a little surprised, like at the end of the fight, that he did get a scorecard, but it did feel like it was close enough of a fight to be like, okay, I could see a split decision at the end here.
You
Like,
thought round one might have been the round you would have given to Andre Feely?
yeah, because he had the knockdown in that round, so I think that's definitely the round that he
Yeah.
won. But
What do you think? What did they release the scorecard? What the other round was? The judge scored for him.
they didn't. But I'm gonna assume round three because in
Yeah, that's
round
what I was
two,
thinking.
Delgado put it on him pretty hard with some
Yeah.
combinations round two. So I'm gonna assume it was round three.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. I had it for Delgado, though, obviously, so did Pat. Now, what do you think of Jose as a prospect? Obviously, a really good striker, but Andre Feely, like, we saw him get finished by Yair Rodriguez 10 years ago, like he is. And Luke Thomas has talked about this on his channel. These old dogs have, in some weight classes, we talked about Emmett just a bit ago, but in some weight classes, they have been turning back the new up-and-coming guys. What do you think about that right now, Pat?
It's tough because I feel like compared to what I've seen some people say and what's even some of my friends in the space have said about Jose Delgado, I almost feel like a Delgado hater because I'm just not as high on him as some of these other guys are. He's a great fighter, fun fighter, a lot of potential, but I'm just not there with him yet in terms of what I think he is. So I could see him maybe cracking the top 15, being in that 10 to 15 range, but I don't think he has much more potential higher than that, to be honest. I really don't think he's far off in the top 15 as it stands now. I mean, that fight against Nathaniel Wood was really close. And I think I view personally Wood as a borderline top 15 guy, if not a top 15 guy, despite him not being ranked. So I still think Delgado is probably has a ceiling in that range, but I think he's good. I don't think he's bad at all. I just think that some people are shooting a little bit too high with the expectations for him.
Yeah, I think some people's expectation are still up here from when they saw in the Hyder Emil fight because Hyder Emil came into that contest undefeated, trained by Gilbert Melendez. Everybody was high on him, and his pace and pressure and all this stuff. And Delgado got him out of there so quickly. We're like, why are you not able to get out Andre Feely? Who's an older veteran who might not be, as highly regarded as Hyder Emil was at the time. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a good win for Jose Delgado. He got into a back and forth fight, and he weathered the storm against a wily veteran. So he gained a lot of experience in that matchup last weekend. So I'm interested to see what he has moving forward. But Pat, we really haven't seen him against an elite grappler either. So we'll have to see what that grappling defense looks like as
Very
he moves
much.
up. But
Very
Harry
much.
Hardwick was back in the cage this week, and he got it put on by Marwan Rakiki. His Muay Thai, Pat, I'm telling you right now, was awesome. And Hardwick, credit to him because he stood in there for some big shots in that first round and almost got knocked out of there. He probably could have been stopped at one point, but this was a back and forth, highly entertaining fight. And Rahiki is the real deal on the feet. But just like I just mentioned in the last fight with Delgado, got to see what he looks like against a grappler at some point. But he remains undefeated last weekend.
Yeah, no, Rahiki's an interesting one because he did fight a guy that was a grappler for the most part on DWCS, and he looked all right. I thought his grappling looked really good, but he's a beast. Like he just that's just how he fights. You know, his DWCS fight was similar where he nearly got knocked out multiple times in round one, was firing back in the pocket, everything, and then round two came along, same thing, and he ends up getting the knockout win. Can I tell you something funny though? I did see these scorecards.
What's up?
Hardwick won 10-9 on two of the judges' scorecards, round one.
Really?
Yes, he won round one on two of the judges' scorecards, 10-9. So I think they overrated that moment where he kind of rocked Rahiki in the pocket. Like Rahiki hit him with a good combo. He swung back and rocked him a little bit. I think that moment kind of got overrated by the judges because I think Rahiki still won the round even with that, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that close. It was really close, but it wasn't that close. But yeah, I mean, Hardwick showed heart in this fight, and that's what he needed to do because he didn't show any in his debut, just to be honest, you know? So I feel like it was a stock up performance for both guys. Rahiki really needs to work on that striking defense, though, man. That's his biggest flaw. I mean, like, he nearly got finished on the Contender Series. Hardwick clipped him bad in round one. He needs
seems
to
like
work
he's so
on it.
confident in his own abilities that he just kind of leaves himself vulnerable in certain positions.
Way too vulnerable though, and you know that's not going to work for too long. Like someone's going to be able to hit that chin and put him out. So that's the thing. It's like for now, it's working. It's awesome. It's exciting. He's going to make a name. It's great, but he does need to just work on the defense a bit because if not, I could see someone knocking him out for sure.
You mentioned the heart of Harry Hardwick, but he kind of had to back up that heart because him and his brother were talking mad shit on Anthony Smith a couple years ago, if you remember that, saying he's the worst. I think he called him the shittest fighter in the UFC, and all he does is curl up in a ball and all this stuff. But, I mean, he's been finished in his first two fights, but he's shown heart in both of them, obviously with the leg injury, and then this last weekend got into a back-and-forth brawl and was obviously entertaining for fight fans, but he kind of had to back up that heart after, you know, saying what he said.
Yeah, no, and apparently he said on Instagram Live either yesterday or today that he's gonna get a third UFC fight. They said
I feel like
he's not gonna get cut, which I completely agree with. I mean, I think 2 fights is a little too quick to judge someone anyways, and I mean, realistically, his first fight, short notice, up a weight class against a really solid striker. Second fight against a killer in Marwan, you know, just tough matchups overall. Like they got to give him a bit of a better matchup, in my opinion, you know.
What weight class does his brother George fight in?
I want to say George is 155.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, he fights, or he fought on the Contender Series. One of the guys fighting this weekend.
Abdul Karim Al Sawadi.
I was wondering. But yeah, so that was a great fight this weekend. Rakiki is someone we're gonna have to watch out for, a dangerous striker. But Pat, I'll tell you what, I lost a lot of money in the fight before this one with Ion Kutalaba submitting Umar Sy with like a jumping mounted guillotine. I don't know how he got him in this. Kutalaba is a vet of the sport. He has that pressure and pace. He does take guys to the ground at some times, but I've never seen him pull off a submission like this ever of any type. But Omar Sy tapped very, very quickly. Obviously, that was due to the pressure. I don't think he really had much of a choice there. He was probably going to go to sleep. But I had some of my friends tell me, they're like, oh, Volk was in that same position against Ortega, and he got out of it. Like, he tapped so fast. It's like, well, yeah, but that's why he's a champion, you know. And
Volk's also like half robot, half human. So
yeah, but that was the position he ended up getting finished in there. Pat, what do you think about Kutalaba getting it done by sub?
It's less about what I think about Kutalaba and more about what I think about C, man. I did not expect that. Did not expect that
Huge
at
favorite.
all. It's hard to think very highly of Umar Sy after that fight. And I thought highly of him before the fight, to be honest. The Menafield loss was close. It was a tough fight earlier on in his UFC career, you know, so I wasn't going to hold it against him too much at all. But damn, this wasn't even like, oh, he got tapped by Kutalaba. He got dominated on the ground. That's his place. He's not a striker. The fact that he got dominated on the ground by Kutalaba, he would have got dominated on the feet by Kutalaba too. You know, so it's just one of those things for me where it's like, damn, like he just probably isn't as good as I thought he was, you know? And this was kind of that wake up performance that's like, what the hell was this? You know, I wouldn't be shocked to find out he was injured, he was sick, you know, I'd almost want to hear an excuse from him after
If
that
someone came out
performance.
and told you, Pat, they're under investigation for Omar Sy, would you be surprised? Like, it
No, I would be, because I just think it's like, he's just like
was
Cutelaba
a
is just
bad
one of
loss.
those
It
guys.
reminded me of
It was a
Vitor Petrino and
bad
Anthony Smith.
It was a bad loss, man. And not even like Petrino, it's because at least Petrino was beating Smith and then made a dumb
Yeah.
mistake to shoot a takedown and got caught. This was just pure domination by Cutelaba. And like, maybe it's Cutelaba getting better. Like, there is an argument to be made that Cutelaba would be 4-0 in his last 4 fights. Like, he beat Modestas Bukauskas. Like,
Yeah.
I know he lost that split decision. A lot of people thought he won that split decision. So
Control time.
you know, so he could easily be 4-0 in his last 4 fights. Maybe he's just on a bit of a resurgence. You know, he did look great in this fight, but damn, Umar C, this was rough, man. This was rough.
And all credit to Cutelaba, because he's a guy who, even on these cards on the prelims, brings a fight, like in a certain level of intensity to the card, to where when you're a casual viewer and you see this guy with his Hulk paint on at the weigh-ins, and then he comes here, he's all intense before, you know, he brings a certain level of intensity and competitiveness to the cage every time he's out there. So I'd like to see him get a bigger name next, whether that's I don't know if Blachowicz just got matched up or somebody like that, but I'd like to see him versus somebody in a co-main event type of situation.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, they have Zhang Yang fighting Alonzo Menafield in a co-main event in Macau. So putting Cutelaba against, let's say, Dustin Jacoby or something like that, you know, like I think that fight already has happened, if I'm not mistaken, maybe back in the day. But, you know, matchups like that, maybe even have him fight Rakic. You know, Rakic could use an unranked kind of fight.
He fought Jacoby to a draw.
That was the draw. Yeah. Okay.
Draw.
So a rematch would make sense, even if it's all these years later, like a fight against Jacoby, fight against Alexander Rakic, maybe even Dom Reyes. You know, like there's a couple decent fights to make for him at light heavyweight right now.
Yeah, I like the Dom Reyes thought. I think Dom did just get matched up as well.
Oh yeah, he did against Johnny Walker.
Yeah, against and Kudalaba's already fought Johnny Walker. But if Dom loses that fight, you know, we'll have to see what he does in his career. But there's certainly some names up there for Cutelaba in this weight class, and I believe he deserves one of them after the impressive win last weekend.
I agree.
Pat, real quick before we move on, because we got a lot to talk about tonight, the Murphy card. Got to get your thoughts on the White House from last weekend. And Ngannou is going to be fighting Felipe Lins. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But Charles Johnson defeated Bruno Silva in another split decision where a lot of my friends are telling me and calling me saying Bruno Silva walked him down for a majority of the fight. What you know? But in the reality, Bruno was walking him down, and he really wasn't throwing a lot. And at times, Charles was hitting him with that jab and leg kicks and just out-voluming him as Bruno came in. Now, was Bruno Silva the aggressor? Probably for all 3 rounds. Yeah, he was. But Charles Johnson was able to get the victory in this one. Pat, did you score it for Johnson, or did you think the forward pressure and output from Bruno Silva should have picked him to win?
I did think Bruno Silva did enough to get the win. I knew it was going to be close or something. I knew it was going to be a close fight or something, though. Like, I wasn't surprised at the scorecards. I don't think it was a robbery by any means. Just a really close fight that could have went either way, in my opinion. I thought Johnson won round 1. Round 2, I thought was really close. Could have went either way. I did lean Silva, though. And then round 3, I did think Silva won. I thought there were some people that were saying that they thought Johnson won round 3. I thought he just had a good last minute or so. I thought Silva won majority of that round. But it's not like this fight was a robbery at all. It's not like it was a bad decision.
It was a close fight. When I went back and looked at it on Verdict to make sure like I wasn't crazy, and it was the closest fight I've ever seen scored on Verdict. 9.52 to 9.54. So it's like even the community who was voting on it was back and forth.
Yeah, no, and rightfully so. It was a very close fight, and that's just one of those fights where you really can't get mad at either guy winning, in my opinion. And it just so happens that the judges thought Charles Johnson won. Other people might have thought Bruno Silva won. It's really not a bad decision, not a bad fight either. It was a good fight, and I don't think the closeness of it should have anyone screaming robbery. You know, the only thing I think is really dumb that makes people probably say robbery a bit more than they were. I think Johnson closed as like a plus 2,000.
That's
plus
what they were
3,000
saying.
underdog.
Plus 2,000. They flipped plus 2,000 on the line at the close.
Yep.
I haven't seen that too many times.
Yeah, and Johnson ended up getting the that's my only thing. Like,
how did the
that's just stupid, you know? Like, in a fight that was that close, how do you have a guy plus 2,000 going to the decision? Don't get me wrong. I did think Bruno Silva won. I would have lined it maybe plus 150, you know? Like it was still very possible that Johnson was going to win a decision in that fight.
Somebody should have bankrupt Polymarket.
Yeah.
But Charles Johnson was able to pick up the win there over Bruno Silva. Now Johnson's is a guy who has impressive victories on his resume. Like you go and look, and he's beaten some of the top guys, including the champion at this weight class right now. So is Charles Johnson? I always looked at this, even coming into this weekend, as I was betting on it. And as a bettor, that's one of those fights where you're biting your nails when it goes to the judges as well, because you don't know what's going to happen there. But and I'd hate to have had a Bruno Silva ticket where that plus 2,000 would have got flipped on me. That would have been pretty rough. But when I was betting on this, looking at this originally, I believe Johnson was at like minus 185 and before pre-fight. And I was like, this has got to be a get back right fight for Johnson from the UFC, because he's got those names, wins over names like Joshua Van. He's somebody, if he can pick up another win here, and Loner Kavanaugh, who just beat Brandon Moreno. So, if he can pick up another win here, there are viable, co-main event, main event slots on some of these Fight Night Apex cards. So I think that he's somebody that, they could probably push back up here moving forward after a win.
Yeah, no, Charles Johnson has 6 wins in his last 8 fights. And
Eddie's on vacation, Mills. You want to come do our AI for us?
Yeah, right. Johnson is 6-8 or 6-2 in his last 8 fights, and his only 2 finishes in those 6 wins are against Joshua Van and Lonnie Kavanaugh. He is such a weird fighter. And then he gets knocked out by Alex Perez. It's like, how do you get a read on this guy? It's just so tough. It really is.
Yeah, he's somebody that's definitely hard to bet on, but he kind of, Pat, to your point here, I think he fights to the level of his competition. Honestly, I think he's motivated against these guys he knows that have high talent, like Kavanaugh and Joshua Van, also younger at the time too. So there's probably a little chip on your shoulder there, not wanting to give up your job to the younger kid. But I think that Johnson's doing really well when he's fighting, these guys in the middle of the pack. It's just when he gets up to that next upper echelon, how's he going to do? And can he make a legitimate push to get up to those names again? But is there another fight you want to talk about on this card before we move to some of the news from last week?
There's a couple I want to touch on, but one I really want to actually talk about, Manuel Souza versus Balaji Oki. I mean, come on. Yeah. What a fight. I mean, Oki's a beast. I knew this was going to be no easy task for Souza at all, and he almost did make it look easy. He almost KO'd Oki within like a minute, but
lasted to the third though.
Lasted to the third. They went to war. Both guys landed bombs. Both guys threw all the power they had. Souza ends up deading him in round 3. As soon as I saw the way Oki was reacting to shots in round 3, I was like, he's getting slapped. He's gonna get put out. I was like, if he keeps eating if he keeps eating the punches that he's eating like he was in previous rounds, and he's reacting this way now, he's gonna go out. Like, it was just not looking good for him. And lo and behold, with less than a minute left, Souza lands a massive right hand that just put him out bad. What a fight, though. I mean, Souza's a legit guy. I mean, his only loss in his career is to Archie Colgan, who's fighting for a PFL title, Bellator MMA vet. And he has a win over Rufy from earlier in their careers. Like, Souza's a demon. He is a demon. Yeah, he's a bad matchup for a lot of guys. His only thing, in my opinion, his only downside, fight IQ. You saw him hold on to the Kimura for really long in round 1, even when it was pretty clear.
He kind of got that killer instinct to a fault. He kind of goes for the finish a little bit too much, and which, in my opinion, was the reason why Oki ended up lasting to the third round, is because he might have gassed himself out a little bit trying to get that finish in the first.
It's exactly what I think. He came out slower in round 2 and then woke back up in round 3. His cardio is not a problem at all. He had a come from behind round 3 finish on the Contender Series too, where Christian Perez held him down for the first 2 rounds, but then Manuel Souza just woke up in round 3.
We saw Souza back when we were covering Bellator. Tim Wilde was coming off a big win from the UK, and he slept him with one shot, left hook. So it's like, this guy's got one punch knockout power, and he's someone you got to mind your P's and Q's with on the feet. And he showed even when he's on the ground. I know he didn't get the Kimura, but he is threatening submissions, thinking about it when it does go to the ground.
He loves that Kimura on the ground, by the way. You see it all the time in his fights, all the time. It's a very constant thing from him. But other than that, real quick, I mean, just bring up Orolbai, 19 takedowns against Chris Curtis, breaks the welterweight record.
Did he break Khabib's record?
Not Khabib's record, but the welterweight record.
Okay.
The weight class record.
He still has like 22, I think, versus Abel.
Yeah, 21, something like that. He was just under it, though. I think it's third highest all time. I think it goes Orolbai, then Merab, then Khabib. Yeah. And, Petrino, Asplund, great fight. Shout out Elijah Smith. Looked amazing against Su Young Yu, which I thought was a lot tougher of a fight on paper than it was for him, actually. I mean, he dealt with the grappling easily, landed a big shot, took him out of there with the submission. Shout out Eric Anders, retired after a great career. And then you got like Bia Mosquito rising through the women's 135 ranks. We got a 135 women's prospect to be excited about. I mean, I know Jocelyn Edwards has been tearing it up, so yeah, Edwards is definitely one. But Bia Mosquito, her jiu-jitsu is nasty, man. Just big fan of her. So a lot of good names on this card.
Asplund and Petrino was a dogfight.
Dogfight, man. That was a war.
Yeah, that was war.
I was shocked.
2 in a row for Asplund that he's been in, bro.
I know, and I was shocked for Asplund that he stayed alive. Honestly, he ate some bombs, and it's crazy because Petrino was the one that showed the most like wobbleness and got dropped and whatever. But Asplund ate some damage. Like his
I hate to say it, man. And Asplund's got a good for a fat guy and for what he's got a good gas tank. But if he could have put it a little bit more on Petrino in that third round, Petrino really was having a hard time keeping his arms up there in that last minute and a half. And I thought if Asplund wasn't as damaged as he was and, his own cardio, sucked out of him, he might have been able to, get over on Petrino there late.
Yeah, that's the thing. The way he fights, he has good cardio for the way he fights, but he will gas out at some point fighting like that,
Do you think he's going to be a good 5-round fighter if he can drag heavyweights past the third round? That'd be interesting.
It would be. I'm more interested with Asplund on his takedown defense because Petrino was a light heavyweight and he failed to take him down in this fight really, like meaningfully. I think Asplund slipped at one point. He got on his back and he worked back up. But Asplund's takedown defense was the biggest gripe I had with him on the regional scene. It just wasn't good. Like Denzel Freeman took him down and mauled him, right? So against bigger guys that can wrestle, I think Asplund probably still is in trouble, but at least he showed against a guy like Petrino, who was a bit smaller than him, that that's not as much of an issue. So that was kind of inspiring to me in a sense, but I'm still worried about his wrestling. That's my biggest thing with him. Like cardio's fine. Boxing's obviously great. Doesn't have too much of a kicking game, but that's fine. The wrestling is really what I'm interested in seeing continue to improve for Asplund if I want to see.
Good thing for him, though, Pat, is there's not a lot of elite grapplers right now at this weight class, especially as they've gotten rid of Romanov and Jalton Almeida, who we're probably going to talk about here in a minute. But they've gotten rid of kind of these guys in the middle of the pack from 8 to 22 that are these grapplers that Asplund might have trouble with previously. So, if they put him in some fun matchups against strikers, I think, he's going to do what he did against Petrino. Either he's going to get into a blood and guts war and lose, or he's going to overwhelm you in the opposite like he did in the first fight, which is always going to be entertaining. He's somebody that I think the company's going to keep around for a significant amount of time.
Definitely. He's great on the mic, too. He's just a very entertaining guy to listen to, so that always helps with guys like that.
All right, Pat, we got to get your initial reaction to all right, so before we get into the White House, Charles versus Max. BMF championship. It was the boringest BMF title we've ever seen. It was, not necessarily what everyone was expecting. Charles had to do what he had to do to get the fight to the ground and win. We saw that in the 5th round because Max came back and rocked him there late. But what did you think about Charles' game plan and then overall the night as a whole?
It was a tough watch. I'll be honest. I'm not going to act like I enjoyed that fight. I'm really not. It sucked. It sucked to watch. I know some people want to back up Charles. That's a guy a lot of people are fans of. One of the most loved fighters in the sport. Shouldn't have been for a BMF belt if that's what the fight was going to be, in my opinion. That was awful. That was not a fight I can say I enjoyed. The first 2 rounds, the first round or two, Yeah, I was sitting there shocked because I was like, whoa, Charles just took him down with ease. He's attacking submissions. He's doing that, whatever. But after 2 rounds, it feels like Charles was like, I don't think I'm going to sub this guy. So I'm just not even going to try, or I'm not going to try to hit any ground and pound or anything. And he just held him there. I
Yeah,
was
he
shocked.
backpacked.
I
Yeah.
was shocked he didn't get stood up. I was shocked
Where's
he
your
didn't get stood up in
situational
rounds 3
awareness
and
to know
4.
that you're in a fight that is supposed to be like this is an entertaining fight? You guys are supposed to be the most entertaining fighters. You have the most submissions in the history of the sport. Max is a historical legend in his own right and a great striker.
At the end of the
You
day,
got to
I
know the
get it.
situation. No situational awareness.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I do get it because he wanted the win. He wanted the win
Yeah.
back over Max. He had the embarrassing loss over Max
shoulder.
years ago, so he just wanted to get the win back over Max, do it however he needed to, which I get. I get taking him down. I get using the grappling, but on the feet, it looked like Charles was winning those exchanges, right? Like when they were on the
Some
feet.
of them, I thought he got rocked there in that 5th round against Max.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
But I thought that the threat of the takedown after round 2 probably was a reason why he was getting some of the better on the feet, because Max knew he was getting taken down so easily that might have been a little bit hesitant to throw on the feet. But Pat, it really put a statement on a shitty night overall, because we had the White House card announcement that really left people up in arms and unhappy about what was announced after Dana White said it was going to be the best card in UFC history. There's $60 million getting put into this and all this crazy talk. But Pat, what did you think about the fight as a whole? I got 2 gripes, and then I'll let you go and say everything you need to say about it. My 2 gripes were, obviously we want to see Jones, but why are we having Zahabi fight O'Malley instead of Sandhagen? We've got one guy in Arizona and one guy in Colorado fighting in the same weight class, and we're never going to figure out who the best guy from America is in this weight class. So it's like, it's very confusing to me why that one didn't get matched up. When you go and historically look at weight classes with American talent, top American talent, they match them up against each other. Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje, Don Fry, Ken Shamrock. The list goes on and on and on and on. This is the fight that the people want to see. This is America 250, and we don't have 2 Americans in there. We have Zahabi, who I love to death, 8-fight, 7-fight win streak from Canada, probably the best guy out of Canada right now, but he's not going to draw anything. My casual fans don't know, or my casual friends who are fans of the sport, they know Amin Zahabi, but they're not like, oh, I'm just thrilled to watch him fight O'Malley. So those were kind of my 2 gripes about it. Pat, what do you think about it?
I mean, I'm not a casual, and I'm not thrilled to watch Zahabi, so don't worry. I'm not a big fan of his style, just straight up. He's not a bad fighter. Obviously, he's top 10 bantamweight. He's won however many in a row and looked good in the process. He's not exciting at all, though. He's like a cardio kickboxer, straight up. Like, that's how I feel about him. That's the biggest thing with Zahabi, in my opinion. So when you put him against a guy like O'Malley, who we just saw play it way too safe against a guy like Song Yadong, I just don't see how this fight's going to be entertaining unless O'Malley knocks him out. That's really how I feel. I don't see a world where that fight lives up to anything unless O'Malley pops him and knocks him out early, the way that he has been knocked out earlier on in his UFC career, because he has shown that he can be knocked out. Unless that's exactly what they were looking for, and they're like, there's just a skill difference here, and they want to see O'Malley land that shot, knock out Zahabi, I see this as a boring fight. I don't know. I don't see it going any other way other than boring, no matter who wins, because O'Malley played it really safe against Song and didn't.
We're going to see a technical chess match between 2 guys who have the same style, and O'Malley might have a little bit more punching power.
Yeah, exactly. And that's basically where I'm at with this fight. Is I just think it's going to be like either a quick knockout for O'Malley, or not even quick, just like a knockout for O'Malley, or a cardio kickboxing match between the 2 of them. That's all I see this going. So that's not really entertaining to me. You got Pereira gone, obviously. That's a banger. No, John Jones sucks. We didn't think they'd do this fight on the White House when we talked about it the week before. But I'm not upset about this fight. This is a really good fight. It is a really good fight. Just weird for the White House. But if Jones did, if negotiations with Jones soured late, I understand why they had to pivot to this fight. I'm not upset about that. Jones isn't on the card. I can't be mad about this fight.
And Tom's injured. And
yeah. Topuria Gaethje.
Banger. I mean, I would have loved for it to be Islam, but if it's not Islam, it's got to be Justin.
I just think it's crazy to get an American knocked out in the main event of a White House card, in my opinion. It's just a little bit insane from my perspective, but I get it. I mean, I get why Topuria and Pereira are 2 of the three biggest stars in the sport right now. Having both of them on a card is massive.
And people
I'm
were
not gonna
shitting
ever
on Diego
deny it.
Lopez and Stevie Garcia, but that
My
might actually
favorite fight on the card.
Yeah, that might be the best fight.
Favorite damn fight on the card. What are you talking about?
That's
That's the only damn fight I care about. No,
Yeah,
no, but seriously though, that is my favorite fight on this card because
it's gonna be carnage. It's gonna be a car crash.
it's just gonna be literally, like you said, it's gonna be a car crash. Both of them are just gonna run in, throwing bombs until one of them is knocked out on the floor. And it's probably going to be in the first round, Like both of these guys are first round finishers. Like it's perfect.
And if they can both survive, it's going to be a great historic fight to start the card.
It's the perfect first fight for this card. Yeah. Like I know, like, oh, okay, you got Garcia, who I think Garcia reps the American flag, maybe. I think
6-5 win streak or something. Got
hands, but like hands. Like I know people are like going to see Garcia and Lopez on a White House card, and it's like really no American, but I don't care about that. I think for this kind of fight, that's a perfect like introduction to.
If you're gonna bitch about that, you got to bitch about it as a hobby.
Yes, but then you have Bo Nickel and Dawkins.
Oh, Huffy and Chandler's sanctioned murder as well.
I was gonna get to that, but like Nickel Dawkins is just weird to me. Like it makes sense, I guess, but for the White House card, really, like that's a. Like,
I was wanting Nickel versus Marvin Vettori.
Interesting, like that would have been cool. Like that would have been interesting. Like, but this. It just doesn't feel like a White House fight. Shout out Kyle Dawkins, though. I mean, he wasn't even in the UFC a year ago. Now he's on a winning streak fighting Bo Nickel at the White House. Has a chance to do some big things.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll tell you what, Pat, if that fight stays standing, he's got good clinch work.
He does. And Dawkins has always been a nice guy to me. I talked to him after a couple of his fights, and he's always been a really good guy to me. So shout out Kyle Dawkins. He deserves it. But Rufy versus Chandler, like you said, I really don't have interest in that fight. Rufy's just going to beat his ass. I just saw Rufy beat someone who I consider better than Chandler. How crazy would it be if all the Americans lose, though, other than Nickel Dawkins, of course?
Yeah, so nobody can lose. I mean, it might happen. Like Zahabi, I don't see Zahabi beating O'Malley. O'Malley's set up to win. Also, O'Malley should have been thrown into an immediate title shot versus Jan, in my opinion, to set up that rematch from the split decision years ago. I don't know why that wasn't getting made. So, okay, so what I was going to stop you and ask you almost when you were talking about originally, you're talking about styles, right? And we know that, Zahabi and O'Malley is not going to be an entertaining fan-friendly matchup because of the style. Do you think that these guys, Hunter, Mick, do you think they don't know what styles make fights anymore like Dana does? And their just lack of experience in matchmaking is kind of putting dull matchups out there from week to week. Like they had to have known Charles versus Max. Like we were sitting there thinking about it. It's like, this is going to go to decision one way or the other. Max is going to out-volume him, or Charles is going to win on the ground and either sub him early or it's going to drag on. Like there's only a couple ways this thing can go. It might not be the most entertaining. And now we're seeing, O'Malley, Zahabi probably not going to be the most entertaining as well. What do you think about the matchmaking recently?
I really don't think Charles Max was their fault, to be honest. I think that was just the way it played out, sadly. I think that was
also with that, where does the winner of that go? It's like you're in no man's land now with the BMF title, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. That whole title is in no man's land. They should get rid of it. That's what I think, personally. I think they should just get rid of that title. I don't think there's any reason to keep it going at this point. But for the White House card, I mean, I think they probably tried to make better fights. I think they really did. I think they probably tried to make bigger, better fights in some of these cases. Like I'm sure they tried to make O'Malley's versus Sandhagen, right? And then if O'Malley didn't want to do that fight, maybe right now or whatever, they wanted O'Malley on the card over Sandhagen, So,
but like when we go back to UFC 200 and it's Lorenzo and Dana and the boys making the matchups, nobody's saying no. Travis Brown's going and fighting Cain Velasquez. You know what I'm saying? It's like Mark Hunt's going in there against a juiced up Brock Lesnar when he knows that he's steroided to the gills. Like there were men who were making decisions, for that company, and now we're sitting here and we're letting the athlete make the decision. Sandhagen and O'Malley should have been made, and if it was O'Malley's team that said, "I don't want to fight him right now," that's a title matchup. I don't know. I don't know what bigger spectacle you could have had that fight other than the White House card. So
I agree. I really don't know what happened with that fight, but that's 100% the fight that should have been made. I completely agree with you there.
Now we're going to talk a little bit about this MVP card, and we've had some people in the comments talk about how the MVP card is blowing away this White House card. And I got to tell you, Pat, I do think they will get more eyeballs. When we talk about Netflix and how many people have subscriptions to them, I think more people will probably watch that than tune in and watch Ilya Taporia and Justin Gaethje, who, quite frankly, my dad and your parents and grandparents and people probably don't know who they are, So people do know who Ronda Rousey is. People do know who Francis Ngannou is. People do know who Nate Diaz is. And Nate Diaz got announced to be fighting Mike Perry. I think that's a great matchup. 5 rounds. I wish they could have done a throwback, Pat, to Sakuraba and Royce Gracie and let this be no time limit. Throw in the towel, old school pride. It would have been, they both would have agreed to it too. They got those type of personalities. So, but anyway, that's going to be a great 25-minute fight, which leads into Felipe Lins versus Francis Ngannou. I think we all know how that one's probably going to go. I would have liked to have seen Jailton Almeida put in that spot. He was a free agent. I know that Ngannou probably doesn't want to get beat and hasn't been against a elite grappler in a considerable amount of time. So that is a tricky matchup for a month and a half notice, especially with Francis being that first fight back since Renan Ferreira been boxing as well. So I don't know if you wanted to get in there against a guy like Almeida, who's an elite grappler, but Felipe Lins isn't terrible on the ground. I just don't think he's strong enough to get Ngannou there. He's probably going to get knocked out. And then obviously we have the legend fight between Ronda and Gina that's going to bring all the eyeballs. So they are going to get more eyeballs. I don't think it's a better fight card in terms of talent currently, obviously. But I think it will be a fun and entertaining fight. And credit to Jake Paul, this is the best overall fight card, MMA or boxing, that he's ever produced.
Yeah, no, I think they're doing the best they can, right? Realistically. I just don't think Gable does it. I think Gable is on a developmental deal with UFC. I just don't see him fighting anywhere that's not the UFC.
What is the PFL doing right now? How is PFL just sitting on the sidelines and these guys are like, oh, we'll take your fighter, we'll take your fighter, we'll take this fighter, and it's like, oh, we still run a league, guys.
That's a good question, honestly. I mean, PFL's been making a lot of good new signings. Like, they have a lot of good young guys that they've signed recently, so maybe their focus is more just on adding to their roster with young regional prospects and shit like that. But I don't know. That is a good question.
My thing was they had one fight left on Francis's deal, and they null and voided it and let him go.
Mm-hmm.
You are obligated to try and find anyone on the planet to beat Francis Ngannou, and then you put your money behind that guy, and that's your new star of your promotion at heavyweight, the biggest glamour division. So in my opinion, they should have signed Rico Verhoeven or Gable, whichever one they thought had a better chance of getting the job done, and put a lot of stock into trying to get Francis beat on his way out the door. Because as you have it now, you have bad publicity from not being able to get him a fight, and you've tanked your potential chance of having a future star if he did get beat. So
Rico is older though, so I feel like that'd be a tough egg to put on.
Francis might have to take him down, but I think Gable would probably. I know it'd be early, but you gave him $1 million. I think he might do it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just tough with Gable, honestly, because I just think he has his sights only set on the UFC. But what I will say that could throw it off, we know John Jones and Gable are best friends. We know John trains Gable. If John's that pissed off at the UFC right now, you see where I'm going with this?
John couldn't fight Gable though.
No. Not saying that. I'm saying he has Gable go and fight on the Netflix card. To screw over the UFC.
JDS is a guy he'd beat.
He beat JDS at this point. Yeah, I think he'd beat just with the wrestling alone. He'd probably take down JDS and just whoop him at this point. But that's the one thing that I think has the Gable Stevenson to Netflix rumors like a chance, in my opinion, would be that. It would be the fact that John Jones and the UFC are not on good terms right now. And John might want to be like, hey, fuck you guys.
John's one of those guys where if you piss him off, he might just say, you know what, I'll start my own promotion. Watch this.
Yeah, he very well could. Yeah. But then also, I don't know if you brought it up. You might have said it in passing and I missed it. But Jason Jackson versus Lorenz Larkin, That's
a great fight. That's two guys with still a little bit of juice left in the tank, too.
Yeah, that's a good fight, man. Like, I don't know. Like, that's fun to me, Two Bellator guys, two Bellator legends, basically, So I love that.
And you got Larkin, who should have won a title opportunity after he knocked out Chokley, and then Jackson, who was the champion in Bellator at that weight class, and then you have obviously he lost to Thad Jean in a controversial split decision. Some people think he won that fight, but he did get knocked down in the first round. So I think that's a good one, Pat.
No, yeah, I'm a fan of that one. They're doing the best they can. Diaz, Mike Perry. I also didn't comment on that. It's like the perfect fight for both at this point, right? I
Really.
mean, come on. Like if there's any fights you could like say or like the perfect for Nate Diaz at this point, Mike Perry would have to be one of those top options. So this is going good for them so far for a first event. They're getting the name value. They're getting the guys the hardcores know. So I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I think it'll be I think it'll be a good card. And for the Jake Paul cards, we really haven't seen that level of talent on an undercard yet. So I do appreciate the effort that he is putting into to make those card whole and stuff. So
Yeah, me as well.
real quick though, Pat, we do have Edwards versus Van Steenis this week, and Pereira signed an 8-fight deal. That's a lot of fights for a guy who's 38 years old. I don't know if he reaches those 8 fights, but they secured him basically for the rest of his career.
That's the point of it. They're just trying to make sure that he's not going to come out of retirement after the UFC to fight anywhere else. If he calls it a career after the next 2 fights he has or something like that, they want to make sure that if he decides to come out of retirement at 41 years old, that it's in the UFC. That's all that is. So he's not going to hit 8 fights. That's just not going to happen. I just don't really see that. And if he does, I'd love for Pereira to prove me wrong in that way. But he already has so much mileage with the kickboxing.
If they
on
give him that belt and then eventually Tom's still sidelined and they let him say he beats Gane, right? And he gets the belt. He's going to have to earn it, right? They're not going to just give it to him. But he goes out there and wins and beats Gane at the White House. Tom's still sidelined. I mean, he's an active guy. They might run 3-4 guys in there at him quick, get this thing rolling again because heavyweight has been so stagnant over the last couple of years.
Maybe it wouldn't be the craziest thing. I could see it. And then for PFL, for Edwards versus Van Steenis, I mean,
rematch there.
Interesting fight. I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. I mean, Fabian lost.
You think it's anything different than the first time they fought?
Fabian lost a split. I mean, it was a 3-round fight the first time they fought, so 5 rounds does add a new element to it. So, yeah. I mean, it was close. It was a weird fight. I don't know. Like, I'm not crazy hype about this. Like, only because it's like, where's Johnny Eblen?
I hate to say that too, because Van Steenis' last win was epic against Johnny Eblen.
But where's the rematch?
I know.
That's my biggest issue. It's like, how the hell do you not put Johnny Eblen, who was probably your most dominant champion, in a rematch against a guy that he only lost to because he got choked out with 9 seconds left? And then you give the shot to even add insult to injury even more. You give the title to a guy who Eblen has dominated twice. Or 3 times, sorry. Or is it not? Just twice.
No, twice.
Yeah. But you give the title shot to a guy who Eblen has dominated twice already. It's like, really?
I mean, he did have the big head kick knockout win. He won the PFL World Tournament, beat Dalton Rasta, obviously Fabian Edwards, and they're trying to gain traction on, I guess it was like the same day that he head kicked Rasta, that Usman got head kicked by Edward or Leon. But it was a crazy story. And I was there when he head kicked Rasta. I was at that fight. And I mean, that was incredible, man. Rasta was doing good in that fight. But one of the kicks looked like it was going to go to the body. Dalton blocked right here, and it went upstairs. That's just kind of the game. And that's how it ended. But Fabian Edwards is an elite technical striker. He's going to be fighting Castello Van Steenis, who in my opinion is a great athlete. If this guy was born in America, I really think he would have been like a wide receiver, a Division I football player or something like that. He's just long, lanky, 6'3". He's just built like an athlete. He's got good submissions as well, as we saw against Johnny Eblen. He's got great cardio. He's in great shape. It's going to be interesting. I think he's going to have to put some pressure on Edwards, make him fight off the back foot, put his back on the cage there. Maybe he's going to have to use some control time against the fence as well. Look for some takedowns, but it's worth a watch. Is there anything else on that card you think is worth mentioning?
AJ McKee versus Borix, the co-main event. I mean, I really like, I hate to say it, but AJ McKee just hasn't looked like AJ McKee in his last couple fights. It's my biggest issue.
He already got the money, brother.
I guess it might have.
I was sitting on a live stream here with Patrick McCory when he fought Paul Hughes, and I'm talking about AJ McKee. I'm like, there's no way that Paul Hughes beats AJ McKee. He's too talented, too much skills, all this, and he couldn't get him to the ground. Paul Hughes had heavier fists. He put pressure on him, and he found the holes in his game, and it exposed AJ McKee to a certain extent. Now, he did have that big win against Clay Collard when he came over to the PFL originally.
But it's Clay Collard.
Clay Collard is a matchup where you are way better than him on the ground. So I think it's interesting. Boric is a good striker. McKee's gonna have to mind his P's and Q's on the feet, but he should be able to take this fight to the ground and get it done.
That's the thing. Like, against Spike Carlisle, I thought that's a fight McKee should finish. Against Sidney Outlaw, he got taken down repeatedly and held on his back, but he won.
I thought he lost that fight. I was sitting there with Dylan.
He won because he threw elbows off of his back, and Outlaw didn't do anything, you know? So I get the decision, but it wasn't a good performance. It wasn't impressive whatsoever. And then the Collard win was obviously great, but it's Clay Collard. Like, I'm not. And he loses to Hughes. He beats Akhmed Magomedov, where he looked decent in his last fight, but man, I just want to see the old AJ McKee again, man. He's not old. You can't say he's washed or anything.
I think
he's 30.
I think he got to the money when he won that $1 million tournament.
My biggest thing is just, he probably won the Pitbull rematch, right? Like, I know Pitbull got the decision, but he probably won the Pitbull rematch. Like, his only true loss could be a split to Paul Hughes, which hasn't aged bad at all. I just want to see the old AJ McKee back. He's back at 145 now as well. I need it. I need to see old AJ McKee, man. This is his chance for me. That's just what
145 is going to be interesting too, because it kind of takes him out of the weight class of Usman Nurmagomedov. That's what everybody's really wanted to see for quite a while. But we'll have to see what Usman gets next. There's a lot of, Gadzi Rabadonov's up there as well, and I don't know. They train together. I don't think he's going to want to fight.
I don't think that one's happening. Yeah.
All right, fight fans, we got a lot to talk about still left on this show because we have preview and prediction for the Evloev versus Murphy fight this weekend. Pat, I believe there is 8+ undefeated fighters on this fight night card. In the main event, we have Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy, Russia versus the United Kingdom, both undefeated, striker versus grappler. Movsar Evloev has not been the most active fighter on this roster. He has picked up wins over Diego Lopez, who has challenged for the championship twice before he has came in and gotten his own opportunity at the belt. But it has been said that this weekend's main event will determine the next champion at this weight, or this next title challenger at this weight class for the champion, Alexander Volkanovski. Lerone Murphy coming off the big win over Aaron Pico, spinning elbow knockout in Chicago last year, knockout of the year by according to some. Now, Evloev is going to want to take this fight to the ground, Pat. Everybody knows this. But is he going to be able to do it? Lerone Murphy wasn't able to get taken to the ground for very long by Aaron Pico, somebody who's an Olympic-level wrestler and probably physically stronger than Evloev. So, Pat, do you think there's going to be any difference this weekend in what we saw against a dominant grappler as well in Aaron Pico? Now, I know Pico didn't aggressively try and take that fight to the ground is what he would have liked to, but he did attempt a few takedowns that were unsuccessful before he got knocked out.
Well, no, he did take him down to the ground twice, like very easily too. I rewatched it recently. Like, he didn't get any control. That was the biggest issue. Like with Murphy,
he was like right back up.
He was right back up for the most part, but the takedowns themselves, way too easy in my opinion. Like, I actually just watched that yesterday, funny enough, and it was kind of the same thing with the Josh Emmett fight, if I remember correctly. Like, Emmett got him down a couple times.
He slammed him over his head once, really bad.
Yeah, and then even against Gabriel Santos, got taken down 5 times. Makwan Amir Khani got taken down 5 times, but like, I don't know if any of the takedowns averaged a minute. Like, every time he was taken down, he was up within the
kind of like
minute.
Michael Bisping. He'd always work to his feet just so quickly. Like, you'd get him down, but he'd use the fence to get up.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where he gets taken down constantly, I feel like, but he doesn't actually get held down for much of it. So that's where it's weird for me, because Movsar, he lands a lot of takedowns, don't get me wrong, but in a 5-round setting, just having to push for the takedown over and over and over again, it's not often what he does. He usually is more of a control guy. So I think he'll get the fight to the ground easily. Will Murphy work back up, though? Like, that's my real question here, because I think he is going to get taken down multiple times in this fight. I just don't see him knocking out Movsar. Movsar's fought dangerous guys like Diego Lopez, like Dan Ige, and he didn't get knocked out. I think those guys are probably more dangerous.
Think that Murphy does present a little bit different level of creativity than some of those guys.
I think Murphy could fight him to a close decision, to be honest, but I still have to lean Movsar here. I just think Movsar's takedowns and wrestling are going to be too much. The grappling is just a big difference here. Like, it's tough because Murphy has some power, but really nothing impressive. Like, the 3 guys he's knocked out in the UFC, Makwan Amir Khani gets finished by everyone once it hits round 2. Ricardo Ramos, not the level of fighter Murphy was, you know? And then you have Aaron Pico, who was kind of beating him up a little bit before the finish. And it was kind of like one of those things that kind of feels once in a million, you know, in a sense, like the way he knocked him out, at least. I mean, Murphy could catch Evloev. I don't think he puts him out, though. I think I like Mobstar by decision here, but it's a close one.
You remember Makwan Amirkhani's debut? I was in high school. I was like 16, probably like a freshman. And he goes in his debut and knocked a guy out with a flying knee in like 8 seconds. I thought Makwan Amirkhani was sent from God to be the next savior of the UFC at the time when I'm 16 watching this. But yeah, I think the thing for me is so frustrating for Lerone Murphy was that he had such a big win over Pico, right? Just the devastating knockout, one of the most devastating knockouts in the history of the promotion, and you still can't get a title shot off that. And you're almost making the guy do it twice to earn that opportunity because, in my opinion, Pat, he's going to have to flash knockout Evloev if he wants to win this weekend. And we haven't seen that happen, like you mentioned. Now, you did say he has fought guys with big right hands like Dan Ige. That is certainly a problem. But I think that the level of skill is different for Murphy and creativity. So what I mean by that is you have to worry about things with Lerone Murphy, like the spinning elbows, the spinning wheel kicks, the elbows up the middle in the clinch, that you might not necessarily have to worry about with Dan Ige, the flying knees that Lerone Murphy might present to you. So I just think the creativity level, the athleticism, Evloev is going to have to mind his P's and Q's on the feet. And for me, I think Murphy's going to be a lot bigger than him too. How much is it going to take out of Evloev to get him to the ground so many times over 5 rounds? And is he going to fade in this fight to where Murphy's still there in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, is able to put that volume on him? Murphy is a tremendous leg kicker as well. If he goes in there and gets the leg kicks going on Evloev, is that same forward pressure that we've seen in other fights going to happen to where Evloev can't get to the takedown range? So I think there are little nuances in the fight that are going to be really interesting, and it's a matchup between 2 undefeated guys. I've not been so excited for a fight night card in quite a while because this is a number 1 contenders matchup that we're going to see here for free. And it's going to be a really, really good fight.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I said, I do lean Evloev, but I'm not saying Murphy.
I'm going to go Evloev decision as well. I didn't get the prediction.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go Evloev decision, but I'm not saying Murphy can't win. It's just it's a tough path. It's a really tough path.
Yeah, I think so too. And you know, I hate to say this for Lerone Murphy because if he fought Alexander Volkanovski, I might favor him in that fight. You know, it's a completely different fight. So sucks for Lerone Murphy. He's older in age right now. I believe he's 34, 35 years old. 35, I think, first title push in his career, but he's got to make it. He's got to make it worth it at this point. But we're going to move on down the card here as we have another undefeated fighter, Luke Riley, who made an impressive debut for fight fans here in his last fight. He will be taking on Michael Aswell in this one. Pat, I got to think this is a setup fight for Luke Riley, whose striking looks absolutely tremendous from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, no, it is a setup fight for Riley. I mean, Riley isn't the best fighter I've ever seen. Like, he's a bit just a little bit overhyped as a prospect, but it's because of how fun he is. He is so damn fun. He puts on the most entertaining fights almost every time. He's only went to decision once in his past 5 fights, and that was against John De Jesus. He looked great in that fight. He showed more of a reserve side of him and showed that he could beat a decent guy over 3 rounds. But then he went right back to it. Just the crazy, awesome, brawling striker. He can take a punch. He can give one back. Same thing with Aswell too, though. Aswell's a really fun guy. He can be in some really fun fights himself. And I mean, obviously it's MMA math, so it doesn't work. But Bogdan beat Aswell by split decision on DWCS. Then Riley knocks out Grad. It's not saying that's what's going to happen because it's MMA math, but I do think Luke Riley wins this fight. I do think this is a setup fight for him to win. Aswell is fun, and he's going to throw in the pocket with him, but I don't think he has the power that Riley has. I don't think he has.
He's so athletic from what I saw in the debut.
Yeah, he's athletic, but the aggression and the power are things that Riley has a big edge on, in my opinion. Aswell can be content with being a little bit too passive at times, and I think Riley's just going to eat that up, and I do think Riley ends up winning this fight. Wouldn't be shocked if it actually does go to decision. I could see Aswell surviving. He's a really tough guy, but I might lean knockout here just
Yeah, I
because
mean,
Riley's
I think the UFC is
aggressiveness.
kind of expecting Riley to go out here and take care of business in this one
I
with a
would
comeback.
hope that the UFC is assuming he gets a knockout because they put him in
Yeah,
the damn co-main event slot,
yeah.
you know?
And
So
there's
they
some good
have to
fights
be
on this
thinking.
card that could have been in there.
Yeah, exactly. Like the next one.
So I'm going to put my stock in Luke Riley this weekend by knockout. If you're betting on the fights, that is an interesting play for this one. We're going to move on down the card here to MVP versus Sam Patterson. We got a little bit of English on English crime here as MVP is going to return against Sam Patterson, who has looked very impressive in his last couple fights. But MVP back down here at 170 pounds. Pat, what do you make about this one? I think he's just too technical, too experienced for Patterson, too athletic. I think that at best he's going to pick him apart for 3 rounds. And maybe Patterson will show some glimpses on the ground where he can get some control time and stuff like that. And Patterson does have a sneaky ground game, and he is 6'2", 6'3" himself. This isn't going to be a length issue for a lot of other welterweights like MVP faces in the past. So, or in a lot of his other fights. I think that MVP is going to get this one done by decision, though. Pat, what do you think about him here in this fight?
Yeah, no, I do think MVP wins this fight as well. I mean, it's just hard to Sam Patterson's been great, right? He has. He lost his debut at 155, moves up to 170, and just starts smashing
4
guys.
in a row. Yeah.
Four straight first
Trey
round.
Waters is 6'6". He's even taller than MVP is.
Yeah, no, the Waters and Barlow finishes were really impressive. Those are 2 guys I liked a lot coming up. Like, those are 2 guys I liked a bit. And Patterson finished them both back to back. There's just such a step up in competition, though. Such a step up in competition in this fight. And we've seen, Patterson get knocked out by a guy like Yanal Ashmouz, Like, I just don't see how he beats MVP, to be honest. I think it's just too big of a step up. Like, I think MVP still looks great. He just coming off the win over Cannonier, coming off that win over Shara. I think he's been great. So I like MVP to win here. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up chinning Patterson.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. And I'm going to take the decision, but if he did end up chinning him, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Vice versa for me. I'm taking the knockout, but I wouldn't be shocked if he took him to decision because he likes to play a little bit too passive sometimes,
Well, I do kind of, I think that Patterson's ground game has to be respected. And I think at points in the fight, if he wants to survive, he's going to have to put this fight on the cage and use his clinch work to do so. But my question to you, Pat, is I look at this fight with Ian Gary, right? Do you think that that the MVP is, I don't think that Sam Patterson is more skilled than Ian Gary. And Ian Gary was able to win rounds in that fight with his grappling, right? So is Sam Patterson going to be able to do the same thing? That's kind of his path to victory here this weekend. He is a big guy like Gary. He's also like MVP in the 6'2", 6'3" range, as I mentioned. And if he can get this fight to the ground, it's going to be interesting. But a lot of guys have not been able to get MVP to the ground. Everybody says, oh, it's easy. Just he's got long legs, get him to the ground. If you don't do that, you're in for a real long or short night.
Yeah, no, I just don't see it happening. I mean, who were the guys he was getting to the ground? Like, he knocked out Trey Waters and Danny Barlow in his last 2 fights. They just straight knocked him out on the feet.
Barlow's a good southpaw, too, and a lot of people were high on him.
Who were the guys he took to the ground? Kiefer Crosby and Johan Lanus? I just haven't seen it yet to believe it. I really, it's one of those things where I'd have to see him do it to MVP to be like, oh, he can do that, I just haven't seen it yet, and I can't say I believe he can do it.
Yep. Too experienced, too technical. That's where me and Pat are going. Pat's going by knockout. I'm going by decision. But Sam Patterson might make it interesting. And it has to be said, if Sam Patterson does pick up the win over MVP, there's a new star from that country. So
new star. That'd be the massive win.
Yeah, it would. Now we go down here, Roman Dolidze versus Christian Leroy Duncan. I thought this one may have been the co-main event. Roman Dolidze obviously has struggled recently, but Christian Leroy Duncan is one of the most technical strikers at this weight class, still creative spinning techniques. I think he's going to get this one done by decision. If Roman Dolidze is a big, strong, powerful man, right? If he gets him to the ground, there's going to be some trouble, no doubt about it, especially if it's early. But if I think this CDL is or Christian Leroy Duncan is just going to be too fast for him. Like Dolidze comes forward, he plods, he's kind of slow, he just takes his time, he's back and forth. Leroy Duncan is fast-footed at 185 pounds, and he's one of these guys that can walk circles around you, they kick you to the body, jabs, he's long. I just see this as a technical decision win for Christian Leroy Duncan.
Perfect matchup in my opinion for CLD to get pushed up the rankings. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like everything you said. He's just too long, technical, too quick. I don't think Delize is going to be able to compete with him on the feet. I don't think he's going to have much success taking him to the ground. Maybe in the clinch, I think I could see Delize having some success in this fight, but
Yeah.
not on the ground. And the thing is, I mean, Delize's only finish loss was against Anthony Hernandez in his last fight. CLD ain't fighting like that, So I don't really like and that was in round 4 even in a fight like that. It had to go to round 4 for Hernandez.
Completely different matchup than Hernandez and Vettori that he's seen recently.
Yeah, exactly. And also just like probably one of the more technical strikers he's ever fought, apart from Imavov. Imavov's probably the most technical striker he's fought.
That'd be an interesting matchup as well.
CLD versus Imavov. Yeah, no, it definitely would be. But I think like it could look something like that fight, only a 3-round version. I know it was a majority decision in that fight, but that was an awful majority decision. Imavov pieced up the leads. So I could see it kind of being like that fight for a 3-round version. Like I said, I really only see Delize having success in the clinch for the most part. Maybe if he could get the fight down, he could easily wrestle and do his thing and get CLD maybe even out of there in like round 2 with a submission or something. But just that Delize, we haven't seen that kind of Delize since he fought Jack Hermanson. That was in 2022.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The big finish win on the ground, everybody remembers, is him tripping up Jack Hermanson and getting the TKO. And obviously, if he gets anybody in that situation, it's going to be bad. But
he's older now, and he's coming off the worst loss of his career.
I just don't think he's going to be able to get into range on Leroy Duncan. He's just too fast moving in and out.
I agree with you. I like CLD by decision as well.
Now, Pat, I didn't even know Austin Lane still had a contract in the UFC, but I'm going to predict him to lose by knockout.
I was going to say we really don't need to spend much time at all on this fight because he's dropping down to 205. He's a big guy. He's dropping down to 205 for this fight for the first time in his UFC career. And he's fighting a dude in Iwo Barianuski who's a marauder. He is a killer. He does not care. He is going to walk you down and knock you out. He has 7 wins in his career, 7 first-round finishes. First 2 wins were by armbar. The next 5 wins, his last 5 wins, all knockouts, with 3 of them being within 90 seconds.
Yeah.
That just seems like, he's a berserker. And even during his amateur career, he did go 3 rounds. Obviously, it was in 3-minute fights, like 3 minutes, 3 rounds. So it's different. But I don't know. It's really tough to find a win path.
There are certain guys who are good counter strikers that might give Iwo problems up the weight class. I don't think Austin Lane's one of them.
No, I mean, he's not a counter striker. If anything, it'd be the grappling. But even with the grappling,
do you think he's gonna be able to do what he did to Robelis to Spain?
It's possible, but Iwo also has good submissions. Like he has that arm bar. He could submit you. He has some other stuff in the tank there. Like Robelis just had the knockout power. Iwo has a little bit of grappling as well. So I just think Iwo takes him out. No, bless you. But I just think Iwo takes him out here. There's not much to
I think so too. Moving on down the card here, though, we do have now, Pat, this is a fight that I really like. Nathaniel Wood, who in my opinion was one of the most well-rounded strikers in this weight class.
Most underrated fighters in this weight class.
Most underrated and most well-rounded versus Lucien Cato, who's coming over from Octagon, 2-weight world champion. You're going to have to tell me a little bit about the competition that he's faced. I know we have a colleague, Patrick McCory, that works over there with them. We do some good work with those guys. And Lucien Cato, he was supposed to make his debut versus Patricio Pitbull. Missed weight. Pitbull didn't want to take the fight because he missed weight. Whatever, Pitbull, that's your decision. No judgment there. But Cato returns this weekend, and he's going to be facing Nathaniel Wood, who, Pat, is very good on the feet. He's got a good jab. He's got good leg kicks. His volume is up there. And on the ground, he's hard to take down. He can win fights, himself with grappling if need be. And he is not afraid to get in a dogfight as well. But he's going to be fighting, in my opinion, a better athlete in Lucien Cato, who, if he hurts him, it seems to me from the highlights that I've seen, like a real finisher. So it's going to be interesting to see this guy in his debut against a legit guy, in my opinion, in Nathaniel Wood.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I was talking about this one today, and it's tough. Going back a little bit to the competition he faced in Octagon, really solid competition, honestly. His one loss was because he hurt his foot a minute into the fight, and he broke his foot in couldn't stand on it properly, and it was like really weird, disappointing too. But I mean, he's beaten some really solid guys. One you might know, Ivan Bookinger, the guy that McGregor beat right before he got to the UFC to become the Cage Warriors double champion. He beat him back in 2023, 2022 when he was still around. He knocked him out in 3 minutes, and he was a vet. The other one, Ronald Paradisier. Paradisier came back after like he beat him earlier in his career, Kita, right? He came back, went on a 8-fight winning streak, right? Claimed the belt again, beat a bunch of guys, and then got knocked out by Kita again. Like he's just a beast. And then he fought at a really solid level of competition. The records of a lot of these guys are impressive, but they weren't like juiced up records for the most part.
We've seen a lot of guys come over from promotions that are champions, like Kaya Sakura, Yuri over in Ryzen. Where would you put the talent level of where Hussein Keita's fighting compared to some of those guys? And also, what would you say his potential is compared to some of the guys like Yuri and Kaya Sakura, the champions in other well-respected organizations? Do you think this is a legit guy day one?
Yeah, I think he's a legit. I think I'd put him pretty highly on that list, honestly. I mean, it's not like the highest, I'd probably respect maybe like Yuri's competition a bit more, but it's up there. It's up there for sure. I think he's definitely one of the better guys that we've seen at featherweight, like come to the promotion in a while. So I'm a big fan of Hussein Keita. I've been a fan of him. He's not the most technical striker, to be honest. He's kind of wild, but wild in his own way. It's not like he's just winging stuff. He has his own way of throwing.
Yeah, it seems like he's uber athletic and just like is so aggressive going for some of these finishes because he's,
and he can take a punch, and when he takes a punch, he fires one right back without like hesitation. It's like wired into his mind. Oh, I ate something, bam, right back, like no questions about it. Wood is a tough first UFC matchup, but he's a smaller guy. He is on the smaller side. Like if I remember correctly, he fought at 135, right?
Yeah, he's 5'6", 5'7".
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, Keita's 5'7" too, don't get me wrong, but he's a guy that could fight at like featherweight, lightweight. Wood's a guy that fights at like bantamweight, featherweight. Like there's a size difference there, just in like body type and everything. And I think that's what plays the biggest part here. I don't think Wood's really going to be able to rely on the wrestling here just because of that. And I think it's going to be a mostly striking match. Could I see Wood winning this fight in a technical striking match? Yeah. But I also think it's hard to not imagine him getting caught at some point, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what you're betting on. At some point, he's probably going to get hit pretty hard here by Keita, who's going to want to make an impression in his debut. Mm-hmm. Another one we do have to talk about here before we sign off for tonight is Mario Pinto, who, in my opinion, is one of the most talented prospects we've seen here in the heavyweight division outside of America. Obviously, we're talking about Hokit, Gable, all these guys. But Mario Pinto's 11-0. He's got a big right hand. He reminds me a lot of Waldo Cortez Acosta, but he might be more athletic than him. Now, obviously, Waldo was a professional athlete in baseball, and it takes a considerable amount of coordination to do that, and all credit to him doing that. But Mario Pinto is 6'6". He's got a hammer for a right hand. He is an aggressive, mean guy, which honestly, Pat, we don't see a lot at this weight class anymore. We used to see Mark Hunt, Bigfoot Silva, Frank Mir, Josh Barnett. These guys came in there to send you to the hospital. They did not give two shits. And now we got guys that are a lot of grapplers. We got Boudet, we got Romanov, we got all these guys that kind of Sergey Spivak, Tybura. They want to get through fights. Pinto is a throwback to me of a very destructive heavyweight. He's either going to win fights by knockout brutally, or someone's going to eventually crack the code and take him down. But that's the two ways I see going in Mario Pinto fights. Now, the guy he's fighting this weekend, I'm going to have you tell me a little bit about, but I'm very high on Mario Pinto and his knockout ability moving forward.
I'm not going to tell you about Felipe Franco. His Contender Series fight was awful.
Yeah.
Awful. One of the worst.
11-1, 10-1. He's got a decent record coming in here on paper.
10-1. He was 8-0 going into the Contender Series. He lost to Freddie Vidal, who I don't rate at all.
Oh, he lost to Freddie Vidal?
Yeah, he lost. He got choked out in round 3. It was a 1-1 fight going into the third round. He was probably going to win round 3, and then
good luck, brother.
Got taken down, got his back taken, and got choked out with 12 seconds left in the fight. And that was, by the way, his third opponent. That was a short notice Freddie Vidal, who also did miss weight by a couple pounds. But that's the thing. He was at 205. Now he's at heavyweight. So if Vidal missing weight by 3 pounds was an issue, what do you think Mario Pinto's going to be? You know? So that's the thing. He's just stepping up on short notice because they gave him the UFC chance. He's a Jelton Almeida teammate, though. He fights like Almeida.
That's my next question. What was he affiliated with?
Yeah, he's an Almeida teammate that fights exactly like Almeida. Take you down, get you out of there ASAP, and that's that. I could see him maybe finding a way to take down Pinto in this fight. I doubt it, though. I think Pinto just demolishes him. Like, this shouldn't be close at all. Pinto is my favorite heavyweight.
Why is Pinto not getting the push some of these other guys are? He had that huge.
Well, he was supposed to fight Parkin, to be fair. He was supposed to get a ranked opponent at the very least, and Parkin pulled out last minute. When's the last time you've seen
Parkin fight?
I don't know. It's a pretty good question. I think
they got to get these guys.
Tybura.
Yeah.
When he lost to Tybura, that's the last time we saw Parkin fight. But he pulls out of this fight, and they sign Felipe Franco. And by the way, I posted on Twitter that this is one of the worst signings in the while. Was not happy with it, right? People got some traction. People were talking, and someone replies, "Yeah, it's a short notice fight, though. It's 1 month of short notice. Give him someone on the damn roster already. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You don't sign guys like this because it's a 1 month short notice.
Against a dangerous dude. Like, this is not just some random you can throw somebody to.
This is just a free win for Pinto, in my opinion. I am not a fan of Felipe Franco really at all. I wasn't a big fan coming on to Contender Series, and I wasn't really a fan after it. I was even less.
I do remember that on the Contender Series now.
Exactly. But I mean, and Vidal, I don't rate too highly. You know, he got knocked out later that season. I mean, I don't think he's that good. He was very early in his career, very raw, and Franco still let him choke him out, you know? So that was just one I was really unimpressed with. So yeah, Mario Pinto to the moon. He's my favorite heavyweight prospect right now, even if you include Gable Stevenson and Josh Hokett. I think Pinto is a more well-rounded package, in my opinion. And I think he's just
thrown here on the prelims. No one's going to see him.
Yeah, but Pinto also has good training partners too. He's trained with like the Aspinalls and the Antidalias and like those guys. He spent time with those guys. So good training partners too.
Yeah, well, Hokett gets thrown to blades after beating Denzel Freeman, who's not even in the UFC anymore. And we've got Pinto knocking dudes dead and having to fight people not even on the roster. So
yeah, I don't know why Pinto isn't ranked, by the way. Even before the Tai Tuivasa fight, Taliesin Teixeira was ranked at 1-1, and Pinto was unranked at 2-0. Taliesin's win was over Junior Tafa or Justin Tafa, whatever, one of the terrible Tafa brothers. And Pinto's wins were Austin Lane, all right, whatever, and Jonata Deniz, who was in the rankings at one point before he lost to Tybura. So the fact that Pinto is still not in the rankings is one of the biggest injustices in the UFC right now, in my opinion. I love Mario Pinto, and he should be ranked. He should have been ranked if he beat Mick Parkin this weekend. Parkin pulls out, and now he'll probably still not be ranked because he's beating a guy in Felipe Franco.
Hey, he's got to call for a ranked opponent here if he gets a win this weekend. Obviously, I think he deserves it. But Pat, before we get out of here, I got to talk to you a little bit about Mason Jones and Alex Sola, I believe his name is. Axel Sola. Yeah. Now, Mason Jones, I was at his fight against Jeremy Stevens there in Des Moines, Iowa. Comes back from Cage Warriors, obviously on a win streak now, and is looking good. He's going to be fighting an undefeated prospect this weekend. What can you tell us a little bit about Axel? I think that Mason Jones is a very well-rounded fighter. He's very durable, but he does get caught a little bit on the feet at times. Jeremy Stevens was able to hurl. He can get fights to the ground with his grappling, and he's a good plus athlete himself.
Yeah, I mean, Axel's really good. I mean, the 11-0-1 record says it itself. His only draw was against Imavov's little brother. He was the champion, went to a majority draw, got his belt back. They never were able to run that fight back. And then he
was champion over in Aries.
Yeah, he was the champion for a bit, actually. He had 4 title defenses over there, won 5 title fights, and he was really good. I was really impressed with him. He does fight on thinner margins sometimes, like even if he does get the knockout like he did against Rish McKee, he sometimes fights on thinner margins, so I expect it to be a pretty close fight. But honestly, I feel like he's a pretty bad matchup for Mason Jones. I don't know. It's just one of those things where his length and his style of striking just feels like it'll counter Mason Jones pretty well. And I'm a little bit worried for him. I mean, there's a 4-inch height difference. Sola is a big 6'2" at lightweight. And 74-inch reach. I'm not sure what the reach difference is there.
What'd you make of the Balaji
same.
Oki win for Jones?
I thought it was a great win. I thought it was a really solid win, but Oki has shown some susceptibility to getting beat up on the ground. It's weird, but I mean, Mason Jones is on a great win streak himself. He beat Michael Pagani, who's a solid fighter. Stevens is, all right. And then the Oki win was really solid. Mason Jones is obviously a really good fighter, and it wouldn't shock me if he won this fight. I think he probably is the favorite here, if I had to guess. Yeah, he is a slight favorite, but I don't know. I just have a feeling that Solis style is going to be bad for him. This is a really close fight, though, and I think it is going to play out really close. I lean that there probably won't be a finish and that it's just going to be a closely contested decision that maybe goes either way kind of thing. But I don't know. I do lean Sola a little bit here just because of that size advantage.
If I'm looking on betting on this fight, I'm honestly probably not going to bet this fight just because of the lack of footage out there and knowledge of Sola so far. But we know what Mason Jones brings to the table, and given what Pat just told us about the talent of Sola, it should be an entertaining fight as well on the prelims. Some of these fights on the prelims actually have some of the best talent on the card, so make sure to tune in early to Paramount Plus fight fans. That's all we got for you guys
real quick. Pink Panther, Curtis Campbell. He said something about him in the comments. Dalton said something about him in the comments. Pink Panther by submission. Book it. Nah. This is a tough UFC debut against Danny Silva. Danny Silva's a solid fighter, and I do think if Curtis hangs with them on the feet for a bit too long, it could get ugly for Curtis Campbell. But I think Curtis Campbell is really well-rounded, has a great kicking game, but he excels on the ground, great submissions. I see Campbell either taking this down and getting the submission or just grinding it to a decision with a mix of both. But if he does stay on the feet for too long, I could see it spelling trouble for him. But he was one of the more fun guys from Contender Series this season. Tough debut, though. Doesn't mean he'll win this one, but we'll see.
We'll see. Got to keep track of those Dana White Contender Series guys. Pat was there in Las Vegas to cover them this year. When are they going to start the second season? That normally is the fall, right? About August.
They announced a date. I forget what the date was. But
got to get Gable on it. Got to get Gable on it.
Oh, I mean, maybe he gets signed straight, maybe not. I don't know, but I think it's going to be like early to mid-August. I'm pretty sure they said.
All right, fight fans, that's what we got for you this week. We will be back next Wednesday with Eddie at 7 o'clock. He's on vacation this week with some family, so it's just me and Pat this week. But we will be back next Wednesday at 7 o'clock, bringing you any breaking news and instant analysis from last weekend and the UFC Fight Night card between Movsar Evloev and Lerone Murphy to determine the number one contender this weekend. Thanks for joining us, fight fans, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time, boys. Boom, 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 boom.